And in sports, the boys' high school basketball season is getting ready to wrap up, but before it does, though, one member of the East Chicago Central basketball team etched his name into the city history books. During the Cardinals game at Indy Cathedral last weekend, Dominique Murphy became the all-time leading scorer for East Chicago boys basketball and surpassed the record of 1,829 career points set by former NBA guard and EC grad E'Twaun Moore in 2007. He's created an all-time buzz in our program. He's brought so much life to it, said head coach Ala Maroe.
Yes, we are back here on WLTH 1370 AM. That's 92.7 in the FM dial. Straight out of Cannon with me, Scott Cannon here. It is 7:32 in the PM. That number is 219-885-1371. The number again is 219-885-1371. We said goodbye at the top of the show to Mr. Jerry Butler, the Iceman, the legendary Iceman of the Impressions. Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, passed away at the age of 85. Rest in peace to him. We talked about the hypocrisy, right-wing hypocrisy, looking down on black baby mama culture while lifting up people like Donald Trump and Elon Musk. And in the last segment, we talked about, what are we talking about? We talked about Cuba and China, how they are making medical breakthroughs in spite of not being capitalists. Oh, my God. Let me get this caller really quick. Hello, caller. What's up?
Good evening, Scott.
What's up?
Hey, you know this being Black History Month.
Yes.
You really don't hear anybody talk about Carl B. Stokes.
Who?
Carl Burton Stokes.
Carl Stokes? Carl Stokes?
Yeah.
We just talked about him on Tuesday.
Oh, I didn't hear about it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, me and the Rev.
When I bring his name up, a lot of people be like, "Who is that?"
Yeah.
And I be like, "What you mean? Who is that?"
Yeah, him and Hatcher got elected on the same day.
Yes, matter of fact, his election had already been, put in the book before Hatcher. So if you want to go down, because I put the FOIA request, because there was a big argument about it. I put the FOIA request on both elections, and Carl Stokes had already been elected, and the person he ran against had already succeeded. So if you really want to go down in the history book, Carl Stokes was the first, but it doesn't make a difference. We had two that year. But here's a man who was an ambassador to Sisley. He only did 4 years in Cleveland as their mayor. And you hear a lot of people say, oh, see, because white people didn't want him. But he had already said if he was able to do 2 terms, he will put things in a book that will still be there today so you could see it. And my only one question about that when people bring up about the white flight in Gary and everything.
Oh, well, look, I got to go I got other topics. Call back on Tuesday. Me and the Rev talk about that type of stuff on Tuesday. Thank you for your call, though, brother. It's all good. All right, folks. I want to say, give a big shout out. Congratulations to Dominique Murphy. Dominique Murphy from EC Central High School. He just became the school's all-time leading scorer in basketball on Saturday. Just this last Saturday during a game against Cathedral. As you heard in the intro, he surpassed the record held by EC legend E'Twaun Moore. And so, it's good to see young people striving and accomplishing their dreams. Now, we don't know what the future will hold for Mr. Murphy. Hopefully he'll go to a good college, get a good education, have a good long career, maybe in the NBA or overseas or whatever. But hopefully he can go far in his life and career just as far in his life and career as another East Chicago native who is making news. Yes, that's right. It's not just Dominique Murphy. There's another East Chicago native making news all over the world this time. We'll meet him and get into that in our reoccurring segment, Good News.
There is a light for the blind man, a sound for deaf ears. It's written just for forgotten souls. It have nothing left to give. There is freedom from bondage, and for those who can't break free, this is the gospel of Jesus, and it's good news. Let us remember we have good news. We won't hide it in the shadows. We will light up the truth. Tell everybody what He's done for you. Shout it from the rooftops. We got good news. Hey! There is a Father.
Yes, it's time for some good news. A lot of people always say, y'all are so pessimistic about everything. Not this time, folks. You guys know I'm a leftist. I don't believe billionaires should exist, just on principle. I don't think anybody should be worth $1 billion in a world where people are suffering and people are starving. I think that wealth hoarding is a disease, personally. But what I do support is black folks, and especially people from this region that has been so depressed and repressed for so long, accomplishing and showing that you can accomplish things in your life. And that is the definition of Mr. Ulysses Junior Bridgeman. From East Chicago, Washington High School. I actually went to high school with my mom and was a friend of my mother in high school. A lot of people have always respected him, and he's one of the great 6 men ever in the NBA. If the award had existed in the 70s, he'd have probably had about 4 or 5 6-man trophies. Like, seriously. He's on those really good Milwaukee teams in the late 70s, early 80s that used to give Boston and the Sixers hell. They actually swept Larry Bird one of those years. That's how good they were. They actually beat Michael Jordan in his rookie year. That's the team he lost to in the playoffs and got swept by in his rookie year was the Milwaukee Bucks. So, Junior Bridgeman was a really, really good player in the NBA, and he has actually continued to make waves post-basketball. Other than playing 10 years in the NBA with the Bucks and the Clippers, he never made more than $350,000 in a single year. Never. But now he's a billionaire. Yeah, that's right. Ulysses Junior Bridgeman is a billionaire.
Money, money, money.
Yes, money, money, money. Now, how did he get that much money? His real success came after hanging up his jersey. And he has built a successful empire that has landed him among the wealthiest ex-athletes in the world. He's right there in terms of net worth with LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Now, a Forbes profile that just came out on Valentine's Day has officially pegged his net worth over $1 billion. This is a considerable leap from the early estimates of $600 million last year and the year before last. Now, his wealth stems from investments. Investing in fast food restaurants and beverage distribution. After he retired, he started Bridgeman Foods, growing it to a network of over 450 Wendy's and Chili's restaurants across 20 states. 20 states. He then pivoted to become a Coca-Cola bottling distributor, notably acquiring a minority stake in a Canadian operation linked to billionaire Larry Tannenbaum. His company, Mana Capital Partners, announced a $600 million beverage production facility in Montgomery, Alabama in 2022. And in September of 2024, he actually returned to his basketball roots, purchasing 10% of the Milwaukee Bucks, the team that he played most of his career for a reported $340 million. after a 15% limited partner discount, valuing the team at $4 billion. His media ventures also remain notable. In 2020, he bought Ebony and Jet magazines out of bankruptcy. His daughter actually runs Ebony now. One of his daughters does. He bought Ebony and Jet magazines out of bankruptcy for $14 million, preserving black cultural iconic magazines, and he has since aimed to modernize them, though they are a smaller slice of his empire in comparison to food, beverage, and obviously the Milwaukee Bucks, which is, again, incredible. You know, I think it's important to have these type of stories. I always try to do stories on people from this region who have accomplished things in their lives, because so much that is said about this part of the country is always negative. You go on Reddit, you go on City Data, you Google Northwest Indiana, you Google Gary, East Chicago, you Google even Hammond a lot of times, and you're going to get a lot of negativity. And I always fear that kids are Googling that stuff and seeing the constant deluge of negativity aimed at this region, and particularly the people of this region. And I think it's important that we celebrate the people who are able to, you know, make something of themselves, who come from humble origins, and actually show that you can achieve if you put your mind to it, especially during Black History Month. Let me get this caller. Hello, caller. What's up?
Quick call. You just said you don't like billionaires.
I said I don't believe billionaires should exist.
You said, okay.
I don't believe they
what's
should
the
exist.
difference in profiling one as a good guy versus somebody that...
What do you mean a good guy? Are you listening to the show? I just said I don't support the idea of billionaires, but I do support people in from Gary, from East Chicago, from this region.
Okay,
People from this region making something of their lives. That's what I said. I support that.
If a billionaire is not from this region, there's no support.
What do you mean? I profile. What do you mean? I don't understand what you said. I profile black people who make something of their lives. Now, the amount of money he has, but I support people doing something with their lives, particularly folks in our community.
I understand that.
Okay.
But do you think this gentleman should not be a billionaire?
I don't think anybody should be a billionaire. Not Oprah, not Michael Jordan, not Elon Musk, not Donald Trump. I don't have a problem with people owning businesses. I'm glad he owns businesses. I don't have a problem with people doing business. But I do, like I said, I don't think that wealth hoarding is a good thing.
Okay, so if you had the opportunity to become a millionaire or billionaire, you would throw it away and say no.
What do you mean? I mean, to become a billionaire, you could, I would. What are you talking about? Like, you have to go out of your way to become a billionaire. You can't just you can't just be like, well, you know, I think I'll slip into being a billionaire. That takes a long, deliberate process to become a billionaire.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
What I'm saying, if you started a business,
okay,
business got just like this gentleman that you just spoke about.
Okay.
What you would say? No, I'm not taking the money. I'm just going to stay average.
Well, see, here's what you can do, and this is what makes people like Elon Musk so rich. Pay your workers more. There's actually a businessman named Dan Price who makes sure everybody at his businesses makes at least $70,000 a year, and that's including the janitors. Everybody makes $70,000 a year. Now, because of that, he's not as rich as he could be. If he paid the janitor $25,000 a year, and he paid most of his employees $20,000, $30,000 a year, he probably would be worth $2, $3, $4 billion. But since he chooses to make sure everybody is paid, and has, including a lot of people having equity and stuff in the company, then yeah, he's not going to be as rich as he would be if he just took all the money for himself.
Okay, one thing my dad and my granddad told me, who were business owners, big business owners in the city of Chicago.
Are they billionaires?
No, I don't think they made it to billionaire status.
Okay.
But my dad did make it to millionaire status. But one thing he said was, you will always get someone who don't have the money that he got.
Okay.
What he should do with the money that he has. You have a good night.
All right, whatever. I mean, you can say that about Elon Musk. Do y'all complain about Elon Musk? Do y'all complain about Donald Trump at all? You know, you can say that about anybody. You know, personally, like I said, I consider it good news when people do things who are from Gary, who are from East Chicago, who are from Hammond, and so that things can be done. Like I said, whether I agree with wealth accumulation or not is a totally different story. Let me get this caller. Hello, caller.
Yes, brother, I agree with you. I mean, the idea of being a billionaire is really stimuli. It's almost sickening. And the idea that we've got people that actually children are malnourished because their parent or the parents don't really get how to manipulate the system,
Right.
or they've actually been, they've been touched by accident the way most people are. The average people don't have this wealth. They don't even have the access to the wealth. Mm-hmm. So I mean, the idea of growing up never having had any books around. Imagine that.
Right. Well, thank you for your call, bro. Thanks for calling. I agree. Like I said, it's not about the negativity here. It's about saying that things can be accomplished. People can accomplish things. Now, how he treats his workers, I don't know. How he treats the people who work for him, I don't know. But to be a billionaire, obviously, that means that on some level, there is some that whoever the people who are working for him, their wages could be higher. Okay, hopefully, he'll pay his workers more money in the future. We could talk about that some other time, but I choose today at least to look at the positive. The positive is that this is a black man who came from this region and made something just like Oprah. I'm not the biggest Oprah stan in the world, but I do see Oprah as a success story. This is a woman who was born in segregation era Mississippi, who didn't have indoor plumbing growing up as a child, who was raped, molested, all those horrible things when she was a child, and she grew up to be a billionaire. Now, like I said, I don't believe billionaires should exist, but I give Oprah her props for, I can look past that for, and say, look, I'm glad you did something with your life, sister, because the odds are that she would be dead, she'd be in jail, she'd be, she would have fallen in between the cracks, or had 100 kids by 50 different men, whatever. She chose to do something with her life, and I can respect that even if I don't agree with this capitalist system, which I don't, like I said. But ultimately, we are here. We do live in America. We do have to, live within the rules of the society that we're in to an extent, But I absolutely am happy when black folks do something with their lives that is positive, even if I don't necessarily agree with all of the methodology and all of how things get to that place always, personally. So I would just want to say congratulations to him. Hopefully he will, be very judicious with, like I said, the way he pays his workers, and take into account that wealth itself does not come from just one individual. It comes from a lot of people. So, Also, some really, really good news. Leonard Peltier A prominent Native American activist and member of the American Indian movement, has been released from federal prison after nearly 50 years of incarceration. He was convicted in 1977 of murdering 2 FBI agents, Jack Kohler and Ronald Williams, during a shootout at the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota. The incident occurred amid heightened tensions between the American Indian movement and federal authorities, and sparked by a confrontation over a warrant for another individual. Peltier, who was only 31 at the time, was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences following a trial that many people, including many international organizations, have criticized as deeply flawed. Many of his supporters, including Amnesty International and former prosecutors of the case, have argued that his conviction rested on prosecutorial misconduct, fabricated evidence, and coerced witness testimonies, and withheld exculpatory ballistic evidence. Claims bolstered by decades of advocacy from figures like Nelson Mandela and Pope Francis. For half a century, Leonard Peltier has maintained his innocence, asserting that he did not fire any shots, a position echoed by advocates who note that the 2 co-defendants in separate trials were actually acquitted. And the death of a Native activist in the same shootout was never even investigated. His imprisonment became a symbol of systemic justice against indigenous people, with his health deteriorating. By 2025, he was 80 years old, frail, and battling many ailments after surviving COVID-19 and enduring a harsh prison condition. Joe Biden, in one of his final acts before leaving office, commuted Peltier's sentence to time served plus home confinement, overriding fierce opposition from outgoing FBI Director Christopher Wray. So he's not really in the clear. He hasn't been declared innocent like many would like. His sentence has been commuted. He's going to spend it at home, the rest of his life apparently at home. And so, you know, Leonard Peltier, just like Mumia Abu-Jamal, just like H. Rap Brown, and many other political prisoners, have given most of their lives to the struggle. And so it is good to see. It's just like in the first case. Just because I don't like everything that went into this does not mean that I can't find a silver lining in this. And the silver lining is, look, even though he was railroaded, even though he spent 50 years in prison that he probably should not spend in prison, I can celebrate that he is free now. And that is what is important. He gets to be with his family for the whatever little time he has left. So congratulations to Leonard Peltier.